Systems 2000 CRM system relies heavily on the messaging system. Messaging is used for sending emails or internal messages amongst employees. We're going to click on messaging real quick just to give you a brief overview. Like a standard email setup, you've got your inboxes and you can create your own personalized folders. To open up an email, just double click and the email pops up in a new window. We're going to start with creating a new email, and as you can see, there is a few things that are a little bit different from your standard email editors. Up here in the top, we've got an advanced search. You can turn that advanced search off and it looks more like your standard email out of Outlook or Gmail or other online email applications. You have your sections where you can designate to whom you're going to send this email. You can also carbon copy other recipients, or you can blind carbon copy. Blind carbon copy means that they cannot see the other recipients of the email. The entity line tags this email to a specific entity. An entity is a person or business. We're going to get more into entities in the CRM system, but for now we're just going to consider an entity as a prospect. You can start to type a person's name. As you can see, I've typed the entity name as last name, comma, first. You can now type your subject. And I can click on the attach field to open up and start to attach documents to this email. Because these emails can be read by a number of people as they are attached to, in this case, Gary Smith's entity, we may want to set a security level on this. Your security advisor sets up the security levels for all the people in the dealership. Setting a security level on an email states that only people of that level can read this email. You can also set this as a private message. A private message means no matter what the security level is, no one is going to be able to read that but you. The buttons over on the left that are labeled A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, and M are preset buttons that you set up to put automatic statements in. So if you are responding to a customer like thank you for coming in or thank you for taking the time to review our units, you can set those up under the configuration settings that we'll go into in the miscellaneous section of the CRM. You can even change the letters of the buttons to match the statements that you're putting into the email. The next button to the right is spell check. Clicking that will scan it and tell you where you have some spelling errors. You also have private templates. We'll get more into that into the CRM system of how you set up your own private template, and that's basically an email that has graphics, your information, and you can have as many private templates as you would like to set up. Private templates are your own personal statements that you're sending out to your customers and prospects. Nobody else in the dealership can see your private templates. Public templates are templates that the dealership sets up for everybody in the dealership. You may have somebody who's very good at setting up templates, so they'll set up birthday letters and service notifications and things like that, so that every person in the sales staff or dealership can actually select from these public templates. The next section are all the editing functions. You can start a new blank email body. You can set the type of font that you want to use, the size of the font if you want the letters bigger. You can cut highlighted information if I wanted to swipe this and cut it and paste it. These are all the standard options that you will see on any email editor. You can even do title bars and headings if you really want to get fancy with setting up an email. And then you have your highlight and your different font colors. You can insert graphics, and what we suggest is that you just play around with these options here and you'll see the different movements of the text, such as alignments for centering of text and indenting of text and so forth on it. If we want to do an advanced search to find an entity or an employee that we want to send a message to, you can click the search on, and now you have a search by, in this case here, last name, and I can type in Smith and hit enter. Now it pops up and shows me all of the Smiths, and I can just double click and it inserts Gary Smith down here as the entity and also displays the information up here in the info box. I can also send a message in internal email just by selecting employees, and this is done more for a receptionist or a sales manager that wants to send a quick note or internal message to somebody that a prospect is waiting for them on the telephone. That's possibly coming from the receptionist, or that don't forget that we're having a sales meeting tomorrow morning. After you've done your search, to the right of the search button up here is the method of communication. If a message had come in from a phone call, you may want to stamp that you are responding to a telephone call. If it's just a standard email message that came in, this is usually the first time a customer contacts you, you want to say that they contacted you first by email or by walk-in. You can also set your next callback date, but this is going to give you a notification that you need to call this person back and how high of a priority that callback is. If you want to attach pictures of a certain stock number to email out to this customer, just type in the stock number and hit enter. And as you can see down here, it automatically attached all of the pictures for that unit. If I don't remember the stock number, I can hit the three-dot search button, and then I can start searching for a particular stock number or a year, make, and model. To search for a year, make, or model, or any of these other columns here, just click on the column. I'm going to click on make, and then I'm going to come up here and type in Fleetwood. And as you can see, I've gotten all of my Fleetwoods. I could drill down on this to discoveries by just typing in DIS, and you can see the drill down. And then I could pick a particular stock number right off the grid and hit OK, and it would populate that stock number in there and then attach the pictures of that stock number for you. At this point, you just need to hit the send button, and that email is going to be sent out to the recipients that you've selected, and it will attach that email into the data files for Gary Smith. So at any point in time that I pull up that entity or prospect, I will see every email communication to and from Mr. Smith. We're going to close out of this and say no, that we do not want to save this to our drafts. And we're going to look at a few of the other features here. In most cases, you will open up an email and then click one of the options: reply, reply to all, forward, print. But if it's just a quick message there where you can see the subject information, you don't have to open up that email. You can just click the reply menu bar and it will automatically open up the reply for you without opening up the original email to begin with. Likewise, to reply to all or to forward this message. Some users do not like to use the double click on a mouse, so we've created a button at the top called Open. So if you highlight an email and then hit the Open button, it will open that email for you. You can hit View or refresh the messages, which forces the system to go out to the email server and refresh and bring in any new messages. On the Systems 2000 messaging system, each message has a status of opened and closed. This does not mean that it has been read or unread like you see in standard email messaging systems. It means that this email needs some sort of response, and once it's responded to, you as the user can change the status from open to waiting or closed. Once it is closed, the message will move all the way over into your closed folder. As a manager, you can click on the list Open Messages and you can see the message counts for the different departments and employees as to messages that they have not closed and they are still actively working. You can also search messages and you can look for statuses of opened or closed, who the message was for, who the message was from, even type in the entity name where you could retrieve all messages for a particular person. Or you could say, I want to find all messages for this telephone number, and it would then relate that telephone number back to a particular entity and show all the messages that are related to the phone number via that way. You can also use keywords, which will search the body of the message and bring back all messages that have that keyword in the body. And then you have your date ranges. You can select a date range prior to find messages within that range. Hitting the OK button will then display the results in your inbox. There are times that you will want to send internal messages or group emails to specific prospects or customers. So let's click New Message. As you can see that we've got the labels here for to, CC or carbon copy, and BCC for blind carbon copy. If you double click on that label, it will bring up a list of employees. If you're sending this email to an internal employee, just select the employee that you want to send and hit OK. You can also create a mailing list and send this out to all of your hot contacts. So anybody who is on your hot contacts, which we'll go through in the CRM system in a little bit of how you designate somebody who is a hot contact, you can create these different mailing lists and select it to send out a particular email. But if you just quickly want to send to a group of prospects or customers, you can click the Advanced button. It brings up the Advanced Search, and in this case, just for demonstration purposes, we're going to say that we're going to send out an email to everybody with the last name Smith. And we're going to hit OK, and we get a whole list of search results. Over here on the right hand side of our search results are a bunch of check boxes. They have all been checked. If I hit the OK button, I am going to send an email to all of these test customers that are in this test database. I can click Uncheck All, and now I can select the ones that I want to send to. And when I hit OK, I have an entire list here of email addresses. Now I may have clicked 10 email addresses off of the list, but only 3 of them popped up because out of the entities that I selected, only 3 or 4 of them in this test data had email addresses. So the system is going to validate that there are email addresses with the ones that you've selected and only populate the 2 CC or BCC fields with valid email addresses. On the left-hand side, you have your folders. You can create your folders to organize your emails, and to move an email to a folder is as simple as clicking and holding the button down and dragging it over to the particular folder that you want to drop it into. Once you get your pointer on the folder, just release, and that email has now been dropped into that folder. To create a folder, just come down to the blank area, right-click on your mouse, and create New Folder. It will ask you for the name of the folder, and we'll call this Demo. And as you can see, we've now created a new folder that we can start to drop emails into. In the bottom left-hand corner, you have different utilities. Right now, you're in the Messages section of these utilities. You can go to your calendar to where you can store appointments, and you can do this by double-clicking on a date and then clicking on the time that you want that appointment to be entered in on. Just change the subject to the name of the appointment and the location, and you see the date and times there. You can also change the color of the appointment by clicking the three dot button, and we'll change that to yellow. And if you want to type a little bit more information, you can in the description. You can even create actions, and this is an advanced section for certain programs. If you want to set a time for a program to run, it'll put a background process in there and pop up with an action. In many cases, you're going to want a reminder, so click the reminders button and tell it how many minutes or hours before the appointment you would like the system to pop up a reminder for you. You can save this appointment, you can delete it, or you can set it up as a recurring appointment. So in this case, we click the recurrence button, and we now have the ability to say that this is going to be reoccur every day at 10 o'clock, weekly, and then if we're going to do weekly, what day of the week. It's going to appear to start every week on the day that you created the appointment. And you can even set when you want to start the appointment with no end date, or you can click end after and put the date in that you want to have it end, or if you want to have this appointment only go for 10 occurrences, just type in how many times you want it to remind you for the appointment. The next thing you have are sticky notes. You can create a sticky note by just right-clicking and clicking New Note. And it brings up a little sticky note pad there, and you can just type in Demo Note and click the button, and it saves it. So at any point you can open that up, and there you can see the note. So these are just your notes. The next section is your tasks list. On your tasks, you can just click where it says click here to start a new task. Start the task of saying need to schedule demo. And you can even pick a customer that you want to schedule that with. You can set a priority, and you can set a status as to whether it's not started, in progress, and so forth. Due dates, a start date, and a date completed. Once it's completed, you can check off the box that it is completed, and it will drop off the list. Over in the left-hand side, you can say to display only the active tasks, all the tasks that you've ever had, the tasks that are due in the next 7 days, the tasks that are past the due date, and the completed task. You'll also be able to assign tasks to other people if you are a manager. We'll get into that in later modules. When you're done, click the messaging button and you'll go back to your messages. After you've been using the system for quite some time, your folders and especially your inbox will start to accumulate with quite a few emails. The system has the ability to sort those by clicking on a column heading. But you can also right-click and use the Utilities function that is associated with the right-click button to sort ascending or descending. You can also put your emails into groups. You can grab a column and move it up into a grouping. Now I can right-click and I can collapse all the groups. And that makes it easier to read. And then I can open up a group as needed. By right-clicking again, let's open this up and right-click again, and we can expand all groups. Bringing the column heading back down into the main bar. It takes the grouping off. I can filter by selection. Now what that means is I have clicked on Service Department as the person that I have received the email from, And when I go to filter by selection, it then removes all other emails other than the ones that match my selection that I've had. Right-clicking again, I can come down here and remove the filter, which then redisplays all other emails. The inverse of filtering by selection is filtering excluding selection. This removes all emails that match my selected criteria. Again, moving down to remove filter, redisplays all emails in my inbox. I can open an email just as if I have double-clicked it. I can export to Excel. This takes all of the data that you see here on this inbox and pushes it to an Excel spreadsheet. This Excel spreadsheet will not contain the body of the information. It will only contain what you see here on the screen. The status, who it was for, who it was from, the date, the priority, and the subject line. If you're a manager and you have security rights to go into a terminated employee's email box, you can right-click on an email and then click Take Ownership. In this case, I am the owner of this email, so it says you're already the owner of this message. Otherwise, if it were someone else's mailbox, it would transfer that email from their mailbox into mine. If you want to customize the settings of your emails, open up the CRM system, click on Miscellaneous, and then go to Email Options and Settings. There are 4 tabs. The first tab is the General Setup. This is where you can confirm a receipt or confirm a read. That means when you send an email out to somebody and they read the email or receive the email, you will then get a response notification back into your inbox. You must keep in mind that emails are dependent on both your server and the recipient's server. If the recipient has certain configurations on their server, you may not receive a confirmation notice. There are also times where the recipient's email server may be configured only to allow certain size emails or emails with a subject or a body, and it will reject those emails. If you have a recipient that is stating that they are not receiving an email, the first thing you want to ask them is what are the settings on their email server? Are there any restrictions or spam settings? The system automatically will drop your sent items into the sent folder. You do have the ability to select a different folder if you wish to have those items dropped into the folder of your choice. Likewise, the deleted items folder can be selected and overridden. This only works if you're set up on IMAP. There are 2 basic email protocols, POP3 and IMAP. Again, these features only work on the IMAP server. If you want to set your default format for when you start a new email, it already knows what size font and what type of font. Click the Message Default Format. Select your font, font style, and the size. You can even set up some effects and what type of scripting you would like. Your one-click settings allow you to set up quick messages. You can change the label on the button, and then you can type in the note or message that you want to send. These one-click settings do not support graphics. They are only for text information. A message signature is the information that's going to be populated at the bottom of your email. You can insert your own signature via a graphic image, or you can just have standard text information. Anytime that you create an email and send it, this information will be tagged at the bottom of the email. You can create private templates. Just click the Add New Template, enter a description, the subject line, you can attach some documents, and then you can just set up an email. Once you have saved your private template, you can then start a new email and you'll see that private template on the private template drop-down list. Select it. It will populate the new email with all of your information, and this way you can send out emails without having to retype them every time. To set up an email list, go to Add Modify Emailing Lists. Click the New button, type in a description, and then click Search Entities. In this case, we're going to create a fifth wheel by selecting a category. We could use any parameter that we wanted to return our search results. You see here we have all of our fifth wheel categories, and we can check or uncheck the entities that we want to have on our list. Now we can see that on our demo list we have the 4 entities, and if I click Save, I will now have an email list. So when I start a new email, I can click the To button. It will pop up, it will show me this new list called Demo List, and I can select it and it would automatically send an email out to all of these people.